Howdy friendos, my name is Stuart, and I'll let you guys know that the last batch of Abridged videos did so well that we decided to do a repeat performance. This time, with the creators' full thumbs up and blessing. If you've been watching Nat19's insane D&D campaign, you'll know that they were kind enough to give us a huge shout out during one of their live streams. This video is not sponsored, nor is this a collaboration, but the next several Tuesdays of D&D December are dedicated to the Nat19 setting guide to ready a Kickstarter. This 5th edition setting guide sports 3 new classes, and oh wow, a lot more. Okay, this is gonna take a second. This book has over 100 subclasses, 100 spells and spell groups, 100 adventure hooks, over 150 stat blocks, over 30 new races, over 150 sub-races, backgrounds, environments, firearms, magic items, and artifacts. This book has ridiculous value. You might even be asking, how the hell are they fitting all this into one book? And the answer is, barely. Last time I talked to Logan, he said this book is well over 500 pages. I have already backed the project as of this publishing, and I think you guys should too. If you like Fate Stay Night and anime, Logan and Nat19s are one of the leading live streams and YouTubers in the anime D&D style settings. Use my link in the description and pinned comment and back the project today and tell him Stuart sent ya. Now back to our content. If you couldn't tell by our shout out, today we are covering Project Mouthwash's Fate Unlimited Bladeworks Abridged. If you don't know who these guys are, you're missing out. Check out the playlist in the description if you haven't already seen this parody, and subscribe to our Mouthwash buddies if you haven't. You know, subscribe to us too while you're at it, if you're fans of theirs. Plug, plug, plug. However, this abridged parody is about Fate Stay Night, a visual novel created by Tight Moon about 7 mages competing in a death game over the Holy Grail. This death game consists of each mage summoning a different legendary hero from history to serve them as advanced familiars called servants. Each servant is granted a class. The 7 original classes are called Archer, Saber, Lancer, Rider, Caster, Berserker, and Assassin. Because of the nature of summoning these heroes of myth and legend, the names of these servants are a closely guarded secret. After all, if you know their names, you can understand their weaknesses. The visual novel is basically an interactive storybook video game where you read Emiyashiro's journey as he is pulled into the 5th Holy Grail War and summons the greatest servant, Saber, who is secretly King Arthur, who is a girl in this multiverse. Just roll with it. The hero that we'll be covering today, however, will be Archer, a character who I credit as the main reason why this series has a female fanbase. Archer is the servant of best girl Rin Tosaka, who she mistakenly summoned after attempting to conjure Saber. Archer appeared in the middle of her home with no memory and no idea of why he was there. It is heavily implied, however, that in this abridged series at least, Archer has most of his memories intact and he is in fact lying. Now, several spoilers ahead, major spoilers in fact, but you do need to know that Unlimited Bladeworks Abridged is a series that is best enjoyed when you have a great deal of familiarity about the Fate series. It's not like Dragon Ball Z Abridged or Sword Art Online Abridged. This Abridged series by Project Mouthwash has so many in-jokes and references that reading the visual novel is almost a requirement if you want to understand even half of the jokes that's happening. I know it's a lot to ask to go read a 100-hour visual novel, so instead I'm going to just do my best to break everything down as they come, but keep in mind, this is your only spoiler warning, and it's a big one. So, 3, 2...
Dude, don't panic. We got some time before we're at risk of spoilers.
Bros, you won't believe how
Fate Unlimited Bladeworks.
In reality, Archer's true identity is actually Emiyashiro, our main character. But into the future. He is summoned from a future where he has made a contract with the planet to become a hero. He was summoned by Rin Tosaka because he kept a jeweled pendant that brought him back to life in episode 0, and in the original Fate timeline. Also, this show has timelines. The first time you play through the game, you go through what is called the Fate timeline, where Shiro ends up falling in love with Saber, and they are tragically separated at the end of the war, and Emiya grows up to be a jaded and bitter person, never fulfilling his dream. Kinda, there's a lot. This abridged series and this Archer appears in the Unlimited Bladeworks timeline, and it's implied that he is from the Fate timeline. The Unlimited Bladeworks timeline is one that really challenges Shiro's dream to be a hero and understand exactly what that entails and what that means. It's actually really well written, and I know I'm not quite doing it justice, but I read the visual novel back in high school, so my memory is a little faded and I'm not going to reread it. But keep in mind, it is quite good. What's interesting about the visual novel, though, is that when you pause the game, it pulls up a menu where you can look at the stats and abilities of all the servants that you're aware of. And funnily enough, they straight up have the character's canonical D&D alignment statted right there in the menu. Clear as day, the game labels Archer at the beginning of Fate Unlimited Bladeworks as true neutral, and we're gonna honor that today. However, there is a chance that he won't keep that alignment by the end of Season 1. In fact, Archer has some of the most dramatic alignment shifts out of any character in this series, aside from Saber, who becomes Salter in Heavenspiel, but don't fucking talk to me about that. That's a video for another time. And this gives Archer a very interesting character arc. Especially Project Mouthwash's Archer, whose personality is turned up to 11 for this. I'll do my best to explain some of the more complicated things that come up as they're needed, but I will be going through the dings with the assumption that you at least have a basic understanding of what's happening in the magic system. But with all that out of the way, let's go.
Come on, Rin. Are you sure he's not an archer? He could throw that spear at us from afar.
You can't just throw a weapon and call yourself an archer, stupid.
You sure about that? I saw a spider, so I threw a table at it. It survived, so I threw a cabinet. This continued. The spider escaped. I assure you I mean to track it down.
We begin with Rin summoning Archer, who wrecks her house. He taunts her for a while, and due to a comical misunderstanding, she believes that she summoned actual Satan. She uses a command seal to protect her immortal soul, and he ends up respecting her for her lack of chill. We're gonna give this whole interaction a comedic chaotic neutral.
Someone's obviously gonna try to turn the school into a slaughterhouse to harvest mana.
Later, while they were cleansing sacrificial rituals from school, Archer needed to protect Rin from Lancer. When their fight is interrupted and Lancer heads off to kill Shiro, Archer ignores his orders, hoping that his younger self would die. He does get this wish. Neutral evil for this.
Bone of my sword.
What? What do you mean, get wrecked, Shiro?
Get wrecked, Shiro.
Later that night, Archer and Rin are ambushed by Saber, Shiro's recently summoned servant. Fortunately, Shiro burns a command seal, beginning the Unlimited Bladeworks route, and saving both of their lives. Rin poorly explains the Holy Grail Wars in order to encourage Shiro to quit when she takes him to the priest Kodomine. Shiro learns about the wish and instead decides to take part in the war. Leaving the church, they are attacked by Ilya and her berserker, who pieces out when Archer tries to kill Shiro in the crossfire of their battle. Archer's attempt to kill Shiro, despite the fact that, he kind of justified it, is technically chaotic evil.
Hey, Rin!
Hi, Archer!
I see killing Shiro worked out.
Welcome to Chateau Tosaka. Pretty sweet digs, huh? They better be. I'm losing it to the church after the war's over.
In episode 3, Archer does a lot of nothing. Meanwhile, Rin had a very busy day with Shiro, which eventually results in a ceasefire. Archer is not at all happy about this and immediately starts patronizing him.
Nobody gets to say my dream is stupid except me.
Your dream is stupid, Shiro!
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
At first, this starts off as playful mockery, which would give him a chaotic neutral, but it evolves into just straight up harassment by the beginning of episode 4. Going out of his way to make sure Shiro is miserable gets Archer an additional chaotic evil.
Why are you here?
It's not to save you, that's for sure. I just couldn't stand the thought of this desolate hag taking ownership of Saber. If anybody but Rin ever took her, I'd never hear the end of it. And if Rin did get her, I'm pretty sure I'd never hear the end of it either. But, lesser of two evils.
In episode 4, Shiro is kidnapped in the middle of the night by Castor, who brings him to her temple. Castor tries to steal Shiro's command seal so that she can gain control of Saber. Archer, who was just following Shiro there, jumps in to prevent anybody from having control of the objectively best servant. He inadvertently saves Shiro from getting killed by Castor, so while the outcome of his actions were arguably heroic, it was exclusively to put off dealing with Saber. So we're going to be giving this a true neutral.
Maybe you are my Robin. You do remind me a lot of Jason Todd.
After saving Shiro from Castor, they agree to a ceasefire until Berserker is dealt with. However, once Castor leaves, Archer backstabs Shiro as he's trying to leave the temple grounds. On the temple steps, Saber and other Saber are admiring each other's Saber skills when a dying Shiro interrupts him. Archer uses Shiro as a distraction to kill Saber. However, other Saber saves Saber. Archer is so annoyed that his attempt on Saber's life was prevented by other Saber, so he fights other Saber, aka Assassin. Since Archer stabbed Shiro, tried to kill Saber, and also tried to kill other Saber, we're gonna give this chaotic evil.
Hey, you stabbed me.
Yeah, sure did.
You're a butthole.
You don't mince words, huh?
Rin learns what Archer did to everyone in the previous ding and uses one of her command seals to forbid him from hurting Shiro again. Once Rin heads off to school, Archer has a relaxing day of going to the store and making mortal enemies with Panasonic's CDO, a noble cause. He returns to Rin after his trip to the store and discovers that Ryder has nearly killed everyone. Fortunately, Ryder was killed by another master and they didn't need to get their hands dirty. Archer and Rin get into a heated debate on how not helpful Archer has been lately. That is until he name drops Kazuki as Caster's master, surprising everyone. Since he's being a difficult prick towards everyone in the scene and committed to being a dickhead, we'll give him a chaotic neutral, even though he did give him the helpful information.
Mr. Shiro, big tough muscle man. Would it be okay if little old me moseyed on over there for a bit?
Yeah.
In episode 6, Rin, Shiro, and Saber head to ambush Kazuki and Caster. This does not work! Shiro summons noble phantasms in the heat of battle, which fucks up his body. Archer's spidey sense tingles when this happens and he heads over to Shiro's home to fix him. This results in a bit of a nice moment between Shiro and Archer, and overall it was kind of an unnecessary thing for him to do, but it was unironically helpful. Neutral good.
Less yelling, more escaping certain death, please.
In episode 7, Rin, Saber, and Shiro, nice, go on a date to bait Caster into fighting them. They plan on Archer sniping Caster from afar once she reveals herself, but instead, Caster pulls everyone except for Archer into her mirror dimension. Caster forces Shiro to relinquish Saber's command seals before Archer can break in and to save them. After Shiro is stabbed by Saber, who has been taken over and didn't have a choice, Archer breaks into Caster's pocket dimension to save Rin and Shiro's lives. The trio escape to Rin's house and come up with a plan to get Saber back from Caster. Lawful good.
I don't want you around.
You have every right to say that.
Thanks for your permission.
Thanks for your permission, Dad.
Now at Rin's place, Shiro wakes up from his near-death experience and is hyped to go save Saber, but is too injured to be useful. Archer helps Rin get to the point across that she wants Shiro to stay away from the fight so he doesn't die, which leads Rin admitting her feelings for him. Archer is, peacefully as possible, removing Shiro from the war. Neutral and an end to season 1. Have you seen one of those internet hypotheticals like, if you could say any 4 words to your younger self, what would it be? Well, evidently Emiya Shiro's answer is kill it with fire, which is an interesting reaction and definitely not a healthy one, but certainly one that is understandable considering the fiction that is Fate Stay Night. One thing that really isn't explained well yet is that Archer has made a pact with the world and he is considered a counter-guardian, meaning he's basically forever bound to the planet and must do what it demands and has him do things that he personally disagrees with. Archer is a man who has given up everything to become a hero. He put others before himself and has made a magical contract in order to make sure that it happens. And unfortunately, that dream has left him a worse person. Speaking from experience, when you live for other people and not for yourself, you tend to become a little bit bitter and a little bit unfulfilled, especially when someone else takes advantage of your generosity and uses you. Don't look into it. We'll talk about this more when we get to the Shiro video, but you'll be able to see his good nature and attitude gets him taken advantage of constantly. Archer is the end result of someone who gave all of himself to others but got cheated out of everything, including his own happiness. In the Fate timeline, I recall reading somewhere that Shiro and Saber eventually met again in Avalon, but I don't think this Archer got his happy ending. Outside of a threesome and a mana restoring ritual. Yeah, really? But before you ask, yes, that was a Nat 20 scene, and I do credit that scene with rocketing Fate to its modern success. Video for another day. We'll come back to Archer when Project Mouthwash finishes season 2, and from what I can tell, they're making great strides. Every episode in this series is interesting, fun, and dripping with lore knowledge, and an understanding that I honestly can't wait to see what happens next. To an old school Fate fan, this is an excellent abridged series. If you haven't watched it yet, seriously, go do it, especially if you're an old school Fate fan. However, come back as we take a look at who is objectively the most attractive character, considering everyone in this series wants to bang her. Check out Project Mouthwash's setting guide to Redia. Thank you to the patrons, and I'll see you all next time.